Shelton dribbling around. Shelton on the three-point line. 2 seconds. One gets off the shot, and it's good. Oh, my. And I guess that tells you all you need to know about this first quarter.
Brooks comes up with it, gets it to Myers down the court, and he's got a wide open dunk, and he throws it down. Myers with a right-hand jam makes it 24-10. Warren gives it off to Holzhauer, fires it out front, Cowley with a three. Good, and a foul to go with it. How about that?
And good morning and welcome into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar and Rob Polinsky here with you in the Rob Polinsky Emeritus Studios at the Chronicle Telegram. And the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show brought to you by the folks at Nick Abraham Buick GMC, Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, located at Route 57 and Broad Street in Elyria. Lorain County Community College, good education, quality education for good jobs. Lorain Medina Rural Electrical Cooperative, LMRE, your Touchstone Energy Corporation, and the folks at Eco Tree Services, your complete tree care company. Rob, a very, not quite blustery, but just bitter cold Saturday morning. Too cold to snow. You and I talked about it. That's not true because we're looking at snow coming through the window over here, and we're thinking to ourselves, when are we going to shake this?
That's a great question, and let's hope we get a brief relief. I think starting Monday, maybe for a few days.
Yeah, I saw 22 degrees. And it's going to feel great.
Have we ever been excited about 22 degrees like we are right now? I don't think so, but I'll tell you what, I'll take it because it's basically doubling up anything we've had of late.
Don't believe so, but yeah, we'll take that. So cold outside, red hot in the gyms around Lorain County, and we were loaded last night, and it all started in the Lorain County League.
It did. And our game that we had last night on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page and on WEOL.com, we went down to Keystone, and the Wildcats keep up their winning ways. They defeat Columbia 72-51. It was Firelands of besting Black River 76-55, Brookside all over Wellington 78-51, and the Oberlin Phoenix with a win over one of their rivals, the Clearview Clippers, 81-45.
That one, an old school rivalry. We'll see if we might be able to get some Oberlin information later on in the program. We're going to bring you every winning coach in the SWC. Who else does that? Nobody, but we're going to give it a shot this morning. Avon upends Berea Mid-Park. Mike Fitch and company with a big win. Biggest win of the night, 63-57. That creates a logjam in that league. We'll talk about it as the show goes along. Elyria with a win over Avon Lake, 76-57. Brett Larrick coming up this morning at 9:20. Olmsted Falls avenges an earlier season loss against Amherst, 67-54. Chris Delisio joins us in hour number 2. And North Ridgeville with a win over Midview again. Classic rivalry game, 70-47. Ben Chase joins us to close out hour number 1.
In a crossover game in the Sandusky Bay Conference, the Willard Crimson Flashes over the Vermilion Sailors, 59-45.
And we've got a couple of girls' scores from last night as well. It was a girls-boys doubleheader over at Avon. Avon did not get the sweep as Berea Mid-Park. They're up there in the Southwestern Conference in terms of what's going on in the girls' race with a 61-53 victory over Avon last night. And Lake Ridge knocks off Horizon Science, doubling them up by a score of 50-25. Rob, one other score of note in the association yesterday evening.
It was, and it was the Phoenix Suns as the Cavs started a 5-game road trip, and the Phoenix Suns beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 126-113. So the Cavs lose their first, and that ends, I believe, a 5-game winning streak.
Cavs are playing some nice basketball. Yeah, you're a bit of a Suns fan from years past.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring that up last night because I was, not sure who you might be rooting for. So,
well, the Suns. So you got to tell you. So
real simple.
Yeah, real simple. The funny thing is it really goes back 50 years because this was the 50th anniversary of the Miracle of Richfield. So just to give you a quick story that doesn't mean anything. When the Cavs lost to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm 9 years old, and I was devastated. I mean, I thought Cavs were winning the World Championship. I wasn't, I'm 9 years old, so you think your teams are going to win everything. And when the Cavs lost that Eastern Conference Final, it devastated me. You listen to every game on the radio. You're sitting there on pins and needles. Just so happened that after Boston defeated the Cavs, the team they played for the NBA World Championship that year was the Phoenix Suns with Alvin Adams and Paul Westphal, Garfield Hurd, the Van Arsdale brothers, Ricky Sobers, all those guys. And I just became a pseudo Phoenix Suns fan because that just happened to be who the Boston Celtics played for the NBA championship. After they beat the Cavs, I would have rooted for the Russians if, the Celtics would have played them in the NBA finals. They just happened to play the Phoenix Suns, so that became my adopted second NBA team for a long time.
Not bad. I myself dabbled in the Phoenix Suns back in '92 when they got Barkley in that deal, and I thought to myself, these guys aren't half bad. Kevin Johnson, former Cavalier, at least was a draft choice of the Cavaliers. Dan Marley also spent some time with the Cavs, and thought to myself, Mark West, I think, was the big man for that team. I'm like, these guys aren't bad. I can watch them. And I just, again, much like you, the hatred for Jordan and the Bulls carried me through that spring.
And they were fun to watch. And they've always had high scoring, fun teams to watch. Now I know of late hasn't gone real well, but kind of similar to the Cavs where they had great teams but never could win it all.
Yeah, tough to get through.
They couldn't get through the Lakers, just like the Cavs couldn't get through the Bulls. Suns couldn't get through the Lakers. And one other player I'll just throw out there to you that I thought was a really fun player to watch back in the day from Cal State Fullerton, Cedric Sabalas.
Dynamic, what he could do as far as his ability to just break away dunks and just Ced Sabalas had some really nice games and just kind of in that same age range, a 10, 11, 12-year-old watching that, you were like, wow. Your dad's telling you that guy's really not that good. You're like, what are you talking about? Look what he just did there.
Looks good to me, Dad.
It looks real good. And I also like the gorilla on the trampoline.
Oh yeah,
that appealed to the 10-year-old in me at the time.
Absolutely.
So that was a big deal. So I was still rooting for the Cavs last night. All things based on that. Yeah, I don't want to see that happen, but. In any event, the Cavs, they're out west, 5-game swing out there. But as you mentioned, playing really good leading up to that. So, they had a little bit of money in the bank, I guess you'd say, as they began that West Coast trip. So, let's look at the scores from around the area. We've got some action here that we want to talk about as far as what's going on later on today around our area. And we'll get it started with boys non-conference. It's a unique slate today.
It really is, and we've got a couple games over at Margaretta. It's a Margaretta showcase. Today they're featuring 4 boys games. Tomorrow they have girls games, and today in the boys, it's Elyria taking on Toledo St. Francis de Sales, and that's at 6 o'clock. I believe that is the third of the 4 games going on over there. At 3 o'clock, it's Keystone versus Genoa. The Genoa Comets are undefeated. Jeff Holzhauer told us that last night. So Keystone taking on Genoa. That's at 3 o'clock. I tell you what, if you are a high school boys basketball sports fan and you're looking for something to do today, Margaretta isn't that far down the road. You can get on Route 2 and you're there in 35, 40 minutes. And it's literally 5 minutes off of Route 2 at the Route 101 exit. So, you want to check out some basketball. I'm not sure what the pricing is. I would guess 1 ticket maybe get you in for the day. And but anyway, 4 great games over there. Those are 2 of them. Elsewhere, Black River is an open door in non-conference boys basketball. Fairview is going to take on Avon Lake, and Brookside goes to Amherst.
And girls basketball slate, CVCA at Elyria Catholic this afternoon. SWC action, Olmsted Falls, Amherst, Elyria at Avon Lake, North Ridgeville at Midview. So a loaded slate in the SWC as always, and the same is true in the Lorain County League. We've got Brookside at Fairview, Lorain at Firelands. Again, these are non-conference games. Vermilion at Clearview. Now, the Chronicle Telegram, our folks here have it at 1:30. We can tell you on good authority that one's going to tip at noon. There is no JV contest over at Clearview this afternoon. That'll be the WEOL.com Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel game. Rocco Nucci, along with Gary Pelcher, will bring you coverage of that one, but that is a noon tip-off over at Clearview. And it's Oberlin making the trip out to Buckeye and Rootstown taking on Columbia. That's a look at the schedule for today, boys and girls. And, it's pretty loaded. I guess that's what you expect. And we're going to get some feedback, I think, from coaches. Casey Wolf slated to join us, the Amherst athletic director. A lot going on over there. And I think we're going to get maybe some feedback in terms of just how this week has gone in terms of, the cold weather, the inclement weather, canceling school. And it seemed to me on Tuesday, a lot of schools fought through it, said we're going to play our games as scheduled. By the time they got to Wednesday, they had reassessed that. And, you're getting down to the nitty gritty in terms of not a whole lot of days left on that calendar before your tournament draw and postseason play begins in February.
You say that, and we lost that Vermilion or the Columbia game at Vermillion on Tuesday. And, talking with Josh Scharf yesterday in our pregame show before they took on the Keystone Wildcats, Josh told me they have 8 games in 20 days. They still have 8 remaining starting last night. You think about that. Keystone only now has 4 games remaining. So it's just kind of interesting how everybody's schedule is a little bit different. But Columbia is going to have a ton of games. And Keystone, after today, has 3, and they're going to be done on February 13th.
Right. You think about that, February 13th, leading to what looks like it's going to be a showdown for the Lorain County League. That's a big deal in and of itself. But, you've got, a non-familiar opponent, super opponent, basically, in Genoa today that they're going to measure themselves against. But, yeah, you're playing once a week until you get into postseason play after today. That's I don't know. Maybe there's some people that are going to be, fans of that in terms of the format that you have a week to prepare for every opponent. It's almost like football at that point.
Yeah, and then one other interesting thing that Jeff Holzhauer told me last night, before we were doing our interview for the pregame, Jeff told me that he's held back a scrimmage, and that they're actually going to have a scrimmage between the end of their regular season and then when they have their first tournament game, because he said that would either be February 25th or February 28th. So they would have a minimum of 12 days off, maybe 15. Your conference schedule is set. That it's those non-conference games that you've got some wiggle room. And Jeff said it was just the way the schedule maker worked, where the teams that they were playing, they tried to get a game a little bit later, but the teams they were playing already had that part of the calendar filled up, and it wasn't by design. But since they knew that the season would end on February 13th, unless you've got a snow, makeup, something like that, they've held back a scrimmage so that they would be able to get a scrimmage in.
Well, much like your buddy Sal Tessio, Jeff Holzhauer is always smart. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to catch up with Mike Fitch, Victoria's head coach of the Avon Eagles. Big one, and we'll get his thoughts on it. It's all coming up next. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show, along with Jared Kozar and Rob Polinsky. We'll be back in a moment.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
This month, get 0% on all 2025 Ford F-150s, including Lightning, regular cabs, super cabs, and Super Duties, plus all Explorers and Escapes.
Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Lorain County Community College is where you'll lock in your future success. LCCC will get you prepared, get you credentialed, and get you working. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
Lorain Medina Rural Electric offers a quick and easy way to pay bills online, monitor your daily electric use, and receive updates from your cooperative through SmartHub. Members can sign up for this service at www.lmre.org or contact the LMRE office at 440-647-2133 for more information.
And we welcome you back to the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar, Rob Polinsky. Joining us now, Mike Fitch with the Avon Eagles. His team coming in off of a 63-57 victory over Berea Mid-Park last night in a girls-boys doubleheader. You got the better end of that one in the nightcap, Mike, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was a special night for our boys last night.
It certainly was. You talk about Berea Mid-Park, leading the conference coming into your place, and you guys, had a lot of success and been a rough patch, a couple of just games that just didn't go your way. You're playing quality opponents each night, and you got back on track, and you helped a lot of other teams out in the process last night. Hopefully, you get a Christmas card from some of them, maybe next year at this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You win 8 in a row, and we lost to a really good Elyria team, and I think we lost our way. I don't know. It really killed our confidence. It killed our energy level. And then, Ridgeville comes in and they really wanted to get after us and they took one from us. And then we lost a tough one at Falls. So we got 2 this week, good one at Gilmore, and we got last night. So it's obviously good when your kids start believing again. You could just see the difference in their the way they walk, the way they carry themselves in practice. And honestly, that's where it started. We got back to really working hard in practice. I think I got away from that as a head coach, let them get a little lax. So I think the work that we put in the last couple of weeks and the game plan we had yesterday helped a lot.
Mike, it surprises me a little bit that after an 8-game winning streak, you mentioned that your team lost your confidence. After that Elyria loss, we had that game, and obviously Elyria played really, really well. Were you surprised that your team lost some confidence, lost their energy level, as you put it?
I've been doing this long enough, so no, they're kids. One little thing can change moods, can change how the locker room feels, and it's basketball. So you got to talk to these kids about you're not going to win every single game. Losing's okay. I had an assistant coach the other day talk about it doesn't matter if we win or lose. We're going to come in the next day and get better. We'll get better from the loss or get better from the win. So we're still a young team. I mean. One returning starter. So, I mean, now we're halfway through, but that was kind of the first big loss we had with these guys. And obviously we need to respond a little better. And we put together and we trust what we do. And, they're showing it now.
I know none of us have a crystal ball and we have no idea what the future entails, but can a win like last night help get your season turned back around?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Tuesday was a really big win for us. Not have school and drive out to Gilmore an hour away and play really good basketball. And then last night, put together a whole game and execute what we need to execute. That's what I look at. We've been executing our stuff. We're back to practicing hard. We're back to getting to our lead effort. So that's the confidence, and that's where we're at right now. Wins and losses, who knows? But we're back to playing Avon basketball.
Well, and when you talk about that, Mike, you don't want to call it a season reset, but you did mention it, and it's worth bringing up. Like you're halfway through now. Again, your season didn't start with everybody else's, and then you had a consolidated, like you said, a lot of games in just a few weeks, and you guys maybe got some money in the bank there that you were able to get going with, and then you hit a patch where Rob and I have caught up with you, post games, win or lose, the past few weeks, and you've been really honest, and it's really simple. You're playing good teams. It's not as if it's a situation where, sometimes that is as simple as it is. You talked about it last week with us briefly. You're like, yeah, Falls is good. It's over at their place. They're good. What do you want? And sometimes it is that simple, I think, and especially in your league.
It is. I mean, we go from Elyria, what plays one type of game and how good what Brett prepares and brings them. They were ready for us. They probably played the best half they played all year at the beginning, the first half against us. And then, honestly, we laid an egg against Ridgeville. They play harder than us. But this is a really good team, and that's an above 500 team. And they're 13th, 11th somewhere in our district rank. And then, obviously, Falls is Falls. So you got to be realistic. It's hard to say you're going to win every game, but we're on good track, and we've fought through it, and our kids have grown from it.
You talked about one returning starter, and that's Joey Ziegler. But everybody else, as you mentioned, guys that you're, really getting to find out more about. Is there a individual or a group of guys maybe that you thought to yourself, now that we're halfway through, has really, really impressed you, and maybe they're ahead of where you thought they'd be at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the season last year, Dean Abdul was a sophomore, and this year, obviously, he's a junior. He's really stepped up and gained his confidence. We have a sophomore starting for us, 6'5", Sam Griffiths, that played freshman basketball last year. So he goes through ups and downs like any sophomore would, but he didn't even play JV last year. So you live with it, and you try to grow them to build that confidence in them. But there are times you can see guys are down, and honestly, the guy that has really stepped up this year is Brooks Good. He ended up similar to Dean last year as a sophomore, playing a lot of varsity at the end. But I mean, the things that he's doing, the things he does in practice, he's very, as a kid say, nonchalant. He's going to go about his day, kind of going to be that leader, maybe the silent leader, but he scores a lot of points for us. And they're pretty much all twos. He knows how to find the ball, how to extend possessions. And Brooks done a really good job for us.
Mike, obviously we know the depth and the strength of the league and how good the coaches are. Is that also part of the reason it's so hard to get season sweeps? You look at you guys, you get a split with Berea Mid-Park. Falls last night avenges a loss to Amherst. Just throughout this league, can you kind of talk about how hard it is to beat a team twice? And maybe whoever wins this league, they could probably end up with 3 or 4 losses, or maybe even 5.
Yeah, that's how it's been the last few years. I mean, the champions had 3 losses or 4 losses. I mean, we have, I think, one of the top coaches in, any conference, all of our guys. They prepare. They know exactly what's going to happen. You're making calls. They're calling stuff out. They have great game plans. So, and honestly, home and away is a big factor in our league too. You go to Amherst, you go to Falls. I mean, those are tough places to play. So when you could pull one out, and then, we go to Ridgeville early, and we played really well at Ridgeville, and you knew they had it marked on their calendar to come to us. So, I mean, great coaches, obviously solid fundamental basketball players, and obviously hard places to play, mix for a lot of splits in our league.
Now, Mike, when you think about that, basically at this point now, a couple weeks left in the regular season, what do you guys look at as far as, a short-term goal? If the conference isn't really, still in your sights, what's a way to, obviously you want to finish strong, but is there a message that you have over the last basically 2.5 weeks left?
Yeah, we're taking one game at a time. I know that sounds cliche, but we look at our schedule and that's what we want to do because we have Midview coming in on Tuesday, which is a totally different game than we just played last night. So every game is different. So we're just going to take one game at a time and see how it ends. We always talk about trying to prepare for the tournament, playing our best basketball at the end. So this year they've bumped that draw back 2 weeks. So now you're literally playing your entire season before you make your tournament draw. So that's another thing to continue us. Preach to our kids that every game matters and where we finish and where we can play. It could be dependent if we host a tournament game. So our goal was always to win a conference championship. I think that's out of reach, but a district championship, go back to back. That's a goal that we have, and but we do that by taking it game by game.
Well, Mike, thanks for catching up with us this morning. We have caught up with you on Friday evenings the past couple of weeks, and certainly we relish those opportunities. But it's good to catch up with you on a Saturday again. It means some good things are happening over there for you guys in Avon.
Yeah, you guys were way down south last night, so you couldn't make it up. But I understand. So it's always good seeing you guys, and I love being on here.
Glad you were worried about us, Mike. We were glad to connect with you this morning. Take care, and good luck against Midview this week.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Mike Fitch with the Avon Eagles. And again, make no bones about it. Like he said, just it's brutal. We're going to talk to Brett Larrick in a moment. I think he's going to echo some of those same sentiments. And really, like I said, we're going everywhere in the SWC this morning. And I think it's interesting how that league's tightened up. When you look at the two leagues we covered, we can go on about this throughout the show, but it's sort of like you have two teams on a collision course in the Lorain County League, and then you got 3, maybe even 4 teams say, it's not over yet in that SWC.
Right. And, you're going to see, I don't know if upsets is the right word, but I think you're going to see.
Someone's going to steal one?
Someone's going to steal one more in the SWC just because of the depth of that league. And with the LCA, it's a little top heavy, right? And Keystone's really, really good, and Brookside's really, really good. And then, I do think if they're not ready, that there are a few teams that can get a Keystone or a Brookside if they're not ready for them. They haven't yet. That doesn't mean they can't, but it just means the SWC, I think, top to bottom, is a little more interesting for us to see because you do have those potential upsets, and you can see where the league can literally in 1 week, you get one bad week, and you can go 0-2 in a hurry in the SWC.
Now, we'll get more thoughts on the Southwestern Conference in just a couple of moments. On the other side of the break is Brett Larrick is on deck. He's going to recap his victory last night over Avon Lake. Stick around. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar and Rob Polinsky. We are online at WEOL.com and the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
At Nick Abraham Buick GMC, we offer the greatest customer experience around, plus upfront, no haggle pricing and great deals. Right now, lease the 2025 GMC Sierra for just $339 a month. Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, Cavs radio voice. Recently, we had some trees removed. So again, singing the praises of EcoTree Services. In a few hours, EcoTree had removed the unsightly trees, cleaned the debris, and opened the area for a new fence. I can't say enough good things about the people at EcoTree. I've used them several times, always thrilled with their work. If you have trees that require pruning or need to be removed, contact EcoTree, a local business that deserves your business. They've earned mine. Go to ecotreeservices.com.
And we welcome you back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. It's Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky. We're joined by Brett Larrick with the Elyria Pioneers, his team coming off a victory over Avon Lake last night by a score of 76-57. Brett, thanks for joining us this morning. No rest for the wicked or the weary as you guys are back at it again with a premier matchup this afternoon. And Rob and I kind of want to get your thoughts, not just about last night's game. Certainly a victory over Avon Lake and anything is always important to discuss, but you've got business to attend to today as well.
Yeah, well, morning, guys. Appreciate me having me on. But yeah, we're right back at it for sure. Good win for us last night. What Mike said, any win in the league is good. And to get out of there last night with a win was great for us. And, now not much time to dwell on it. Now we got to get right back to work, which we started last night. late getting all our preparations done. And we got a little early game, 6 o'clock today, so we'll bring our guys in right before we get on the bus for our prep work and feed them, and then hop on a bus to Margaretta.
And, Rob and I were kind of introduced to this whole showcase sometime earlier this week. But then, when we were over at Keystone last night speaking with Jeff about that, that's why we were kind of thinking to ourselves, well, there's a lot more to this than we know as far as the surface knowledge. So if you could kind of explain how you guys, how this came about and how you guys were invited to play. Certainly, you're playing a premier opponent in Toledo St. Francis. You talked to Ron and I about their size and some of the challenges they present last week, but just maybe how this entire process came about.
Yeah, towards the end of the season or right after the season, Jake Meisler from Ohio Buckets, he runs Spy Report. He reached out asking if we'd be interested. It's the first year they've done it. Their goal was to get a lot of the Northwest teams, good competition, different competition that they normally wouldn't see. And he's an assistant at Margaretta. That's why it's being held there. But Jake reached out to see if we'd be interested. I said, yeah, absolutely. We've been in several showcases, and we wanted to get more information on that. And he got back to us and, gave me the information, and we were all on board. It happened to fit our schedule. And Friday, Saturday, back-to-backs are never easy, but we didn't play Tuesday, which helped. And so, yeah, fit in our schedule, and we're excited to do it. And, really tough opponent for us, totally different than what we've seen all year. We don't see the huge opponents, throughout who we play, but this one's going to be a lot different, 6'9", 6'8", another 6'8", but he might be out, we think. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit different game plan for us, and we'll see how our kids adjust.
Brett, how do you go about trying to defend a team that potentially could go 6'8", 6'9"?
We're actually putting in a couple different options. When we get to the school, we're going to go over 2 different ways. We have to pressure. What we do, we're going to stay with that. So we're going to pick up, try to make it a full court game. We want to be up and down as much as possible. But the other thing is, this is a small court. We don't play on very many small courts. I don't know if we played on any this year. So that'll be a little bit different for us. But we want to make it a full court game, a fast-paced game. But when they get in the half court, we're going to have a couple different options. Their big kid, Horton, is going to the Miami of Ohio commit, the 6'9" kid. He's very, very good. Big, strong kid, but operates on the block. So normally we don't double team. We're kind of a one-on-one team defensively. We don't pressure the ball and deny, but we're going to have to collapse, and we're going to have a couple different plans ready for what we need to do. Hopefully our guys can adjust, but the one thing is we want to be us. We want to play fast. We want to make it a full court game as best we possible to speed them up.
Again, you're taking on Toledo St. Francis de Sales later on at Margaretta at 6 o'clock. So to be invited in these showcases and things like that, earlier this year, you took on Massillon over at Canton McKinley. Keystone is going over there with you guys today for a game too. They also played in Brunswick. When you get invited to these things, I'm assuming for sure, obviously, it's because you've got a really good team. Do you also get invited to these things because people know that there's maybe individuals on these teams that are really good, and that will does that lead to it? I guess I'm just asking.
It's a combination of
both. Of that. Okay.
Yeah, we were also supposed to play in Garfield Heights tournament too, but they got invited to Florida, so that date changed. It didn't work, so we had to get a makeup game. So technically, we should have had like 4 of them. Massillon was one in a shot clock tournament. We played Cleveland Heights at Cleveland Heights and won early in the year. What am I missing? And then this one, obviously.
Right.
But a combination of past year success, having good teams, and then also really good players. Kendall Compton is a guy that's getting looks for colleges, and his name's out there. And then Jerry Daniels, our other senior guard. So we've got some seniors that want to play in college, and we got some young guys. Micah Jackson, a freshman, is rated pretty high, and you get your names out there and that notoriety, and then you get invited to these type of things, and now you got to go in and show pretty well. Which we've kind of split the last couple of years, but you're playing really, really good teams. That's the thing about these is you're playing teams that are not from your norm. right? They're from a distance away. You don't get to see them live, and they're different style teams as well. So it's always great to be invited, and we appreciate it, and we're always excited to go play.
And Brett, just to stay on that theme of the showcase here, is that something where coming off of a conference win and just as we talked about it and Mike said earlier just a few moments ago, it's just a grind in your league. Is that good to step out of it with basically, as Rob and I have kind of said, that this is about the 2.5 week mark left as far as regular season is concerned? Do you get the sense that you and your guys think that, yeah, we get a little bit of a break, not in terms of the opponent, but at least somebody that we're not used to banging our head against the wall seeing twice a year?
Yeah, and the name of this showcase is Tourney Tune-Up. So it's really a tune-up for the tournament coming up, our district tournament, and it gives you a bigger team that we're going to get to play against and what you might see in the district. We got 17 teams, and they're all different in some aspect. So that gets you ready for the tournament. We still have one non-conference left, Westlake late in the year, just so we wouldn't have just 3 Fridays in a row, kind of another Tuesday night game. But yeah, the conference grind is real. Like when you get to the second half of the year, and everybody last night in Avon Lake, they've gotten a ton better from the beginning of the year. He goes, well, you didn't win the first quarter by 25. Well, you're not going to. You can't win a game in the first quarter, all right, blowing somebody out. Teams have gotten better. They know what you're doing. Mike said about the coaches. We have great coaches in this league that prepare. All right, what you did the first time isn't going to work the second time. You've got to make adjustments. Players have to make adjustments. But it's nice to get away from the grind, but also it's tough because now we're going Friday, Saturday, Tuesday. But we've had some days off. We've been rested, and kids want to play. I don't know how many actually want to practice this time of year, so they want to play, which is nice for them.
Well, certainly we wish you luck in your travels out there. Safe travels, warm as possible, and hopefully you guys can have some success out there, and it'd be a good representation for Lorain County in general between you and the folks in LaGrange that are making their way to Margaretta. Kind of a Lorain County takeover, and we like that.
Hopefully, we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we both have a good showing.
No doubt. That's Brett Lyric with the Elyria Pioneers. They're on their way out to Margaretta today, coming off of a win over Avon Lake last night. Brett, best of luck to you and the Pioneers this afternoon and evening.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we'll see you down the road here.
You bet, and that's our pleasure. Take a quick time out on the other side of the break here. We're going to catch you up and switch gears a little bit with Amherst Comets Athletic Director Casey Wolf. Big news in Amherst, worth talking about, and just to get Casey's thoughts on a couple other things, maybe calamity-wise, that have struck the area over the past week. Stick around. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky. We'll be back in a moment.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
This month, get 0% on all 2025 Ford F-150s, including Lightning, regular cabs, super cabs, and Super Duties, plus all Explorers and Escapes.
Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Lorain Medina Rural Electric offers a quick and easy way to pay bills online, monitor your daily electric use, and receive updates from your cooperative through SmartHub. Members can sign up for this service at www.lmre.org or contact the LMRE office at 440-647-2133 for more information.
And welcome back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky, and gracious enough to take a few moments to join us. A busy man over there at Amherst today is Casey Wolf, the Comet Athletic Director. Casey, thanks for taking some time. We know you got a game starting up on the girls' side here in just a little while. So big news out of Amherst this week is yesterday we learned that you're going to be the first school that we're going to see in our area that's going to adopt women's flag football. So you're going to offer that as a varsity sport. And, I think that, it's one of those things. Rob and I were talking about it last night as far as the impact it has. It's not going away, and it's going to grow, I think, pretty quickly.
Good morning, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Jared, I hate to correct you, but, I like to correct you when I get a chance.
Please do.
Elyria actually had it last year. In addition to us, Avon Lake and Midview will also carry flag football this year. So we're not the only ones. And then Berea Mid-Park in the SWC. So there's 5 SWC schools right now that are going to field flag football this year. Olmsted Falls is scheduled to add flag football in the spring of 2027. So we'll have 6 schools playing. So it's exciting. It's really thankful to Hannah Lee at the Cleveland Browns. She's doing a tremendous job to grow this on behalf of the NFL and the Cleveland Browns. Last year I think they had 60 teams that were playing signed up under the Browns umbrella. This year they have 121. So they've more than doubled the number of teams that are playing flag football. And I think part of what helps is the OHSAA is sanctioning a championship this year. It's not an official OHSAA sport yet, but it's gaining some traction that's going to head that way.
Casey, can you talk about, when you add a varsity sport, that is a big deal for a school. I know occasionally maybe schools might consider adding hockey, or they might consider adding lacrosse, or whatever the case may be. Can you just talk about that process? Like, that isn't just an easy decision that's made overnight. How do you go about weighing the pros and cons and then ultimately deciding, yes, we need to do that?
Well, this is the second time we've done, kind of followed this path. Flag football will be considered a club this year. It's not going to be considered a varsity sport just yet. We did this with boys volleyball a couple of years ago. There has to be, a sustainability piece that comes with this as well before you make it a varsity sport. Fortunately for us here in Amherst, our junior combats youth program started girls flag football about 5 years ago. So our current 7th graders, they have always had a flag football option for girls. So there is a sustainability piece. We're fortunate with 2 guys on our football staff, Brad Harrigan and Justin Zink. Both have daughters who are in the flag football program, and they're going to be willing to help us, get this off the ground, get this program off the ground here at the high school. Along with Coach Thome, the 3 of them are really going to spearhead this and get it going. It's interesting. We have a couple other guys from our football staff that are interested in helping. Al McConaughey, our freshman coach, is interested in helping, and then Joe DeAndrea, our offensive coordinator. So, it's gaining a lot of traction, and we're excited that the Board of Education and Mr. Molnar are glad to get this thing going here at Amherst. Any
Ideas of maybe how girls might be interested, and how many do you think it would take to field a team? Have you thought about that? I'm sure it's not numbers wise like you would have a boys football in the fall, I would imagine. But can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So girls flag football is 5-on-5. The Browns give you a startup kit for 25 players. I think this first year we're going to look for somewhere in the 10 to 15 players neighborhood, with that continuing to grow over the years.
Casey, you talk about Amherst really offering pretty much the entire catalog athletically, and that's something that I think when people would look at it and say a school that size, what is it about the makeup that you guys have staff-wise and or your flexibility to say, if we don't do it now, somebody else is going to do it, or we can perfect it if we get good at it right now? Like you talked about with the volleyball situation on the boys' side, hockey has been something that, not a lot of other schools your size have.
Yeah, I think you have to have people that are invested in it and people that are, interested in it and want to see the thing, want to see it flourish. We're very fortunate here to have a guy like Steve Morris, who, there's not many people that have the credentials that he has in the state of Ohio, to run a hockey program and know how to do it. And, he just got his 400th career win. Our program got over their 400th career win this winter. When we restarted hockey, after I met with Mike Hughes and Dan Kramer, the first call was to Steve Morris, because that he's invested in it. It's same thing with Felicia Sanchez. The boys, when we started boys volleyball, kept coming up to her and saying, "Hey, we want to do this. We want to do this." And, Felicia and I met with the boys and said, this isn't playing backyard volleyball. This is, you're playing real volleyball like our girls do in the fall. So understand you're going to have to know how to run systems and run plays and things like that. So it takes both the athletes and, people that are willing to coach it and be invested in it in order to make, your different athletic programs work.
Casey, you just mentioned winter, and it leads to our other topic we wanted to briefly touch on. As an athletic director, the week we just went through, when schools are mostly closed, can you talk about the decision-making process? It used to be back in the day, no school, no athletics. Now sometimes schools will have games, and even if they didn't have school, and just talk about, how you guys come across that decision. How difficult is it to reschedule games this time of year? What all goes into that? And is that like a think tank with your school district, like maybe you and your superintendent and principal? Do you guys all discuss that? How does that come to be?
That's a great question, Rob. Thanks for asking. You know, from our standpoint, we have a great leadership team here. Myself, Mr. Molnar, our superintendent, and Joe Tellier, we all work together to make what's the best decision for our district. Now, on top of that, superintendents and athletic directors are all in communication to make sure that, you know, we don't have too many people doing opposite things. You know, there's got to be a consistency piece. And, you know, I think this winter has been a good example of that. You know, you mentioned when you call it off school in the past that you would not have extracurricular activities. Well, calling off school anymore is about the safety of students getting to and from school. So, you know, a good example of a snow day is last week, I can't remember, a couple weeks ago, we had one where, you know, it was a Thursday night, maybe the 20th of January. These days all run together. I'm sorry, guys, but the days all run together. The 20th of January, you know, there was a snowstorm that came in, and a lot of times those snowstorms come in overnight and everything's cleaned up by, you know, 11 o'clock each day. Well, that storm continued all day long. And so the decision was made kind of across the board that we would have to, you know, cancel all after school activities that day. You know, but then again, you look at days like cold days, and again, it's a matter of making sure that your coaches are at the school in advance of their athletes so that they can let them in and nobody's waiting outside. You know, everybody has a ride to and from the school for practices or games. You know, just making sure that, you know, we're doing everything we can so that the reason that we called off school is also, you know, the reason we called off school is not the same thing we're doing to students that they have to wait outside to get in the building or those things. So it's more or less, you know, based on the conditions and, you know, the safety of students getting to and from the school.
Casey Wolf, Amherst Comet Athletic Director, thanks for your explanation there. Certainly we think about it. I think people that tune in for games think about it. And, you know, like you said, it makes sense. There's a lot of variables. So, you know, glad that you were able to outline some of that. Glad you were able to correct me earlier and makes sense. You're correct. Illyria had it and, you know, keeping us on the straight and narrow. We want to wish you guys luck. You got basketball. You got basketball today, girls and boys. So, you know, best of luck in those contests. And we'll catch up with you real soon, Case. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Appreciate you guys having me and appreciate everything you guys do for high school athletics in Lorain County.
That's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Casey Wolf with the Amherst Comets program. Take a time out. On the other end of the break, we're going to get a little bit of home cooking on our team as the WEOL head of security, Tom Evans, joins us. He's going to talk about wrestling and spending an afternoon with Rob coming up here in just a couple of moments on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show, streaming online at WEOL.com and on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
At Nick Abraham Buick GMC, we offer the greatest customer experience around, plus upfront, no haggle pricing and great deals. Right now, lease the 2025 GMC Sierra for just $339 a month. Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, radio voice of the Cavs. For several years, you've heard me talk about EcoTree Services on WEOL. Recently, I needed trees removed, so of course, I contacted EcoTree. They did an incredible job. The folks at EcoTree were timely, efficient, and the work was flawless. Take it from me. When your trees need attention or even require removal, contact EcoTree Services. Like me, you'll love their work. Find EcoTree Services online at ecotreeservices.com.
Welcome back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky, bringing in the security chief, Tom Evans, a guy that's really happy to talk to us right now. Probably won't be so happy later this afternoon with what your assignment is, Tommy. But, hey, thanks for joining us this morning, and thanks for taking the cross to bear with you out for wrestling at the collegiate level this afternoon.
No problem. A little nervous. You know, Rob's been kind of my mentor here, the play-by-play, and I've been doing wrestling by myself at Kent for 2 years, and he's going to come out and sit next to me. I'm a little bit nervous about, you know, my young Luke to Obi-Wan sitting next to me.
We all knew that you would easily surpass Rob in just a couple of brief lessons.
I don't know about that.
Tom, you're the teacher. I'm going to be doing the learning today, watching what you do.
I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have some fun over at Kent State today.
Sounds good.
So, Tom, wanted to catch up with you. We were trying to effort you last week, but I know you had a loaded morning over at Columbia, and just if you could get some feedback about that event. I know it's very special in terms of what it means not only to you guys in the wrestling community, but just kind of the landmark event in terms of girls tournaments in our area.
Yeah, Columbia Station was one of the first to run a girls tournament over there, and my good friend Ray Anthony and I kind of took it over this year. They had some coaching changes, so we took over the tournament, and it was a little frantic last Saturday morning. Of course, a team walked in an hour after weigh-in started and hadn't ended any of their wrestlers yet, and had some state placers. So, needless to say, the head of security wasn't real happy with that coach. And
that didn't happen, though. You told us Friday night.
Yeah, and it did. But we got it up and going, ran a really good tournament. A couple teams out of Columbus, Gahanna, Lincoln, and Delaware Hayes came up and really dominated the tournament. But the Columbia Raiders ladies finished 6th over there. They had a champion, Justina Hanna. But it was a great day. Some really nice county recognitions as well. Jalen Green from Elyria. I didn't know the story. I wish I would have known at the time we announced her. She got her 100th victory on Saturday. But Jalen actually was a softball player whose dad talked her into wrestling for conditioning purposes 4 years ago. And she got hurt at Columbia and then lost the rest of her season. So for her to come back 3 years later and still accumulate 100 wins through her career is just phenomenal. And her mom sent me a little note about how special it was for her to get recognized with that 100th victory over at Columbia last Saturday.
Tom, from the basketball standpoint, Jared and I are real familiar with, they're flipping the calendar tomorrow. It's going to be February 1st, and that always means tournaments, end of the regular season, playing your best basketball. I'm assuming that's the same for wrestling, right? Do you guys mentally, when you flip that calendar to February, you've got conference tournaments, you've got the sectional, district, state, that's all coming up. You've got tournament draws and all that. Do you take on a different mentality? And, from a basketball standpoint, you always talk about, coaches will always talk about you want to start playing your best basketball in February leading into the tournament. Is that the same for wrestling, whether it be individually or as a team, that they're trying to peak also when you flip that calendar to February?
100%. A lot of big tournaments took place in January. Maumee Bay, Perrysburg, the D's tournament, the Top Gun. Find out where your wrestlers are. Right now, it's about getting healthy. It's about maintaining your weight. It's about making sure that you're on track and staying healthy going into those tournaments. Most of the conferences have moved their conference tournament up a week. So there's a week in between the conference tournament and the sectionals. It used to be you went to your conference tournament, got the snot beat out of you, turned around the next week and saw all the same people in the first round of the sectionals. The district board has allowed the teams to seed themselves now. So they'll be all over Northeast Ohio come sectional time. But a little strategy going into that right now. Coaches trying to figure out where they want to be. Best shot for their kids to get through as the tournaments start to roll on.
Tom, when you talk about the calendar flipping over to February, something that's probably never been really first and foremost on our list, but, guys have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what their weight is right now. It's not as stringent as it was to start the year. What impact does that have as you're really trying to make that home stretch run and, you're able to have not a freedom, but more flexibility?
Well, that's the Christmas gift. They got a 2-pound growth allowance at Christmas, and that certainly helps out the wrestlers. And I go back to when I was a first-year head coach, and I had a 103-pounder that started the season weighing about 94 pounds. And by the time he got to the state tournament, he had grown so much, he was coming down from about 111, 112. So I recognize that difficulty. But I think with a lot of the wrestlers, they want to get in, they want to settle into that, and they don't want weight loss to be a factor. If they're spending too much time worrying about where their weight is, they're not spending time worrying about their technique and what they need to do on the mat. So you really want, and the state's really gone to great lengths as far as certifying the weight classes and actually really, when they do the testing, telling the wrestlers how quickly they can come down to weight and those types of things.
Tom, when you talked about that they made the change where the conference tournament and before you have the sectional, now there's that week in between. Does that make for better wrestling also in both the conference tournaments and you've got 2 weeks to rest up for the sectional? Does that improve the quality of wrestling all around?
Absolutely, because the conference tournaments are still important. I know the SWC does a 50-50 split between dual meets and the conference tournament to determine who the conference champion is. The LCA, they've bounced back and forth, but you want that high-quality conference meet. You don't want coaches sitting kids out of their conference tournament because you want to make sure they're healthy for the sectionals. And if somebody's banged up or bruised a little bit, you want them ready for that run. And that week in between, a lot of teams will pick up a dual meet there just to make sure that their kids are staying on pace and are keeping their practice schedule the way they want it to. But that's almost that like football's going to that bye week now. You want to make sure that you stay a little bit sharp, but you're not beating the snot out of them that week.
Well, from your standpoint, Tom, and everybody I think knows that's familiar with us and your background, you're a nut when it comes to this stuff. What are you looking for over the next, week to 10 days in terms of, or 2 weeks rather, that you can just see and say, I'm really looking forward to this, or I might be surprised by this?
Well, it really gets interesting now with the teams seeding themselves. So the seeds had to be done this week as far as the rankings, and then they'll go through and they'll pick their sectionals. And I sat in and observed that last year. I'm a sectional manager for Division I in Cleveland, and I'm the district manager for the Division III district at Independence. And just to watch where teams put themselves based on where they might end up the next week. And, last year Amherst started out a little bit closer to home, and they got bumped. Amherst ended up going all the way out to Austintown Fitch for a sectional last year. And it's a little bit crazy the way the Northeast District Board is spread out, because you've got 7 sectionals and you can be anywhere. Division II is crazy. Brookside, Firelands, they're all going to the far east side. I mean, Kenston is the closest sectional for any of those teams. So they're going way east to get matches in the sectional. So just to watch what coaches are doing, and sometimes they know they've got that one kid that might have a chance to get through, and where his best matchup might be. They're doing things based on that. So it gets interesting.
Well, Tom, what's going to be interesting is going to be your afternoon with the tutelage you're going to have to impart on to Rob Polinsky. Certainly, thank you for joining us this morning. I'd like to say it's going to get easier today. It's not. We both know that. There's no way it's going to happen. So all the best of luck to you and what you have to endure throughout the afternoon. My guess and my hope for your sake, Tom, is that the evening gets a little better once you guys get out of there, and Rob makes it up to you as far as what he put you through throughout the afternoon.
Well, we're planning on it. There's always a mandatory debriefing. I'm well aware of that.
There's a post game, whether it's wrestling, football, or basketball.
Absolutely.
It always depends on you fellas for that. Tom, thanks a lot, and good luck with Rob this afternoon. And certainly hope to catch up with you again next week, as we always try to get some wrestling insight from you. That's Tom Evans, the WEOL head of security, and he'll take on an apt pupil later on this afternoon in Rob Polinsky.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to transition right now before taking the break. We're going to keep right here. Ben Chase is going to join us with the North Ridgeville Rangers. Coach, good morning. Welcome to the program. Coming off of a nice win last night in a traditional rivalry game over Midview. It's kind of a throw out the records. You guys are going to play tough, and it doesn't matter what sport. I think Ben has us. I don't know if he does.
Coach, you got us?
We can hear some background with Coach Chase, but I don't think he can hear us. I'm going to text you right now. I'm
not sure if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you guys.
Yeah, we got you, Ben. We can hear you. We got you, but he can't hear us. So send him a text message and we'll see. But just going back to what Tom was saying a little bit earlier, with the wrestling and having conference tournaments coming up, the interesting thing, about wrestling is when you've got dual meets, some conferences – they want to share that. They have the dual meets mean some of it, and that then the conference tournament means some of the overall champion. Other conferences say, we have dual meets, but that has no impact on the conference championship. The conference championship is how we're going to determine, who is the champion. And obviously in that sport, you have individual and you have teams. So it is a unique setting.
Speaking of unique settings, we're connected with Coach Chase.
Great.
Ben, we were just explaining during that transition that, you come off of a win over Midview last night, 70-47. That's a throw out the records type game in terms of the rivalry that exists between the two schools. So, you guys come away with a 23-point victory, but it's never quite that easy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say is with these two teams playing, that never matters. The records never matter. We pressed them pretty much the entire night. We were running two, trapping them, make it really tough for them. We made sure the pace was where we wanted it to be last night. And it was only a 9-point game at half, and then we finally finally wore them down in the second half enough and made a big run to extend the lead.
And that's really been, I think, everybody we talked to that has played Jim Bravenick's teams over at Midview say, for a half, they're really in every game. They've got us figured out, and, we can't just impose our will. And then, there's maybe some things happen in the second half, adjustments are made or anything of the sort. But the point is that Midview's record pretty deceptive in terms of, what kind of a test they bring to your team, at least for a half, 3/4 of basketball before you can put a team like that away.
Yeah, Jimmy's a great coach. He's going to have a good game plan every single time. He just really doesn't have the talent and the depth this year, and he knows that. He talked to me before the game, and he said that they just always have a random 4 to 5 minute, lull during the game where the other team makes a huge run. And, I think that was exactly what ended up happening in the second half last night. So, their margin of error is just pretty thin over there based on their depth. And, we wanted to make sure we took advantage of that and got the pace where we wanted.
Ben, you've been in North Ridgeville now for several years. What has the North Ridgeville Midview rivalry come to mean to you?
I feel like it keeps heating up right now. I feel like it's on it's still on an increasing path. I feel like, the gym was absolutely packed last night. There's parents talking smack to players. There's players talking smack to players. I mean, the communities don't like each other. I think that's what makes high school sports awesome and rivalries awesome. I think it was really cool, honestly, last night. So there's it stems from the football field for sure. A lot of football guys are all playing basketball for both teams, and it definitely spills over. So it's fun. Kids love it. Everybody's ready to go.
Last day, January. Tomorrow we flip to February 1st. Just where do you think your team is right now? And are you happy, when you take a step back and look at the big picture, where you guys are right now, and what are you looking to improve on in these last few weeks of the regular season?
We need a little bit more consistency. We're 10-6. I'd like really 2 or 3 of those losses back that I just don't think we played to our standard. I think right now, if you go through our schedule game by game, we're beating the teams that we're supposed to beat, and the measuring stick teams and the tougher teams on our schedule right now we're not beating. And if we want to make a run in the playoffs, we're going to have to beat those teams. And we got a great road test on Tuesday against the Berea Titans, who are tied for first in the conference. Like, that's one of those games we look at late in the year. Like, we've got to win this game if we, want to be district champions. We want to get back to the regionals like last year. So, over the next month, 3 weeks, leading into tournament time, that's really what we're trying to figure out.
And you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Coach. Rob and I actually had a really good conversation with a couple other local people about that last night, actually, that, you guys came out of nowhere in the tournament last year, but it really wasn't nowhere. You finished with a nice couple of weeks that regular season where you opened some eyes and you really turned it around to come out and have such a strong showing in the postseason. How much does it help that some of these guys that are contributors now for you were rotation guys, or at least, saw what that team's effort looked like last year at this time?
Yeah, we have 3 starters back this year,
right,
which is huge, and their returning experience is great, especially when things kind of get tough and get, a little nerve-wracking when we get into like a district final game, hopefully this year. So, that's stuff that we're gonna lean on for sure. But last year we lost, I think, 8 games by like 5 or less points. So our record obviously going into the tournament was like 6-14, which wasn't great. But I'm like, man, if we can just continue to work on our process, continue to get better day by day, we're gonna have a chance to beat some teams. And then Green obviously last year beat Hoover, helped out, so we had an easier matchup in the district final. But yeah, this year we're looking to get right back and, hopefully win one more game at least and maybe get to a regional final this year. It'd be really cool. But, our division is stacked. We're looking at these top seeds, man, and it's not going to be an easy pathway anywhere.
And, other things that Rob and I are familiarizing ourselves with just really in the course of the past 2 weeks, you being a bigger school in terms of, at Ridgeville where you're located, how has that impacted the way you guys approach that the way the sectionals are going to work this year, or lack thereof, with the draw?
Yeah, we took a look at the brackets. There's 5 sectional matchups this year because we have a couple more teams than 64. So there's a couple extra matchups, which it's interesting, but it's just, you just don't know. Like, you can do as many mock drafts as you want, but like, if one of the top 3 or 4 seeds don't take the bye, like, it just ruins everything else. It it really forces the 6 through 12, who are all quality teams, to really make a decision if they're going to go away from those teams or they're going to, take their chance in a district final. It just makes it tough. That's why I don't love the setup with coaches being able to pick their spot. I think that the entire season in 4 months and 22 games, that entire body of work should be rewarded or penalized, for good and bad teams. And I just don't like other coaches just being able to jump on whatever line they want. I think it's just doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is.
Ben, I know every year is different. You did mention that you've got 3 starters back from a year ago. At some point, do you remind the guys of the tournament run that you had last year as you get closer to it and what needs to be done to try to replicate that kind of success? Or do you, just kind of put that in the past and not bring that up?
No, that's definitely a part of the conversation for sure. At the start of the year, the kids sit down with each other and they come up with their own goals that they want. And one of their goals is to get to a regional final this year. And that's one more game than they did last year. And I think that's an awesome goal for them to set. And, right now we need to make sure our process is a little better. They also set process actions and behaviors like they do with their big result-based goals at the start of the year. And right now it's up to me to hold them accountable to them saying what they're going to do. And they're not doing it consistent enough to our standard right now. So when that changes, I think we become really consistent. And our last, 5 or 6 games could be wins. And, if they don't change that, then we might drop another game or 2 and we don't get as high of a seed as we want. And it just makes things tougher. So, that's what we're really focused on down the stretch.
Well, Ben, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate catching up with you. It's been a couple of weeks. Certainly, you guys have had a really nice stretch here, the win over Avon, and then you're kind of taking care of rivalry week in general because that Avon border with you guys is just as strong, I think, coming on. Sure. So you guys, it's a nice week to be a Ridgeville Ranger, and thanks for sharing the experience with us up to this point, and certainly hope to catch up with you as the next few weeks of the season roll along.
For sure. Appreciate you guys. Hope to talk soon.
You got it. Ben Chase with the Ridgeville Rangers. And I think if there's a guy that understands the new format and how things are going to change, adaptability is key, and his program proven that they're really adept at that.
No doubt. And, you think of that tournament run that they had last year that he mentioned a few times, and that's one of the beauties of the change, right? And I think a lot of us, I'll put myself right up there, not for some of the changes that we've had, but if you want to look at what are good things that come out of it, a team like North Ridgeville, getting to the regionals, getting to go to the College of Worcester a year ago, what a great experience that was for those young men. And because of that success, is that going to drive them this year to maybe, overachieve in the tournament, kind of like what they did last year?
It sounded like he has every intention of that happening. Right. So we're going to take a quick time out on the other end of this break, catch up with Colin Myers. They had a busy week over at Firelands and starting to put it together at the right time, get his thoughts on a couple of matchups and a lot more. Stick around. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show on AM on the line at WEOL.com and also streaming on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
This month, get 0% on all 2025 Ford F-150s, including Lightning, regular cabs, super cabs, and Super Duties, plus all Explorers and Escapes.
Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Are you undecided about your future and overwhelmed by the options? Well, don't worry. You're not alone. Lorain County Community College has helped thousands of students just like you find their future career. From short-term training programs to transfer options all the way to bachelor degrees, our programs are designed to set you up for future success. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, Cavs radio voice. Recently, we had some trees removed. So again, singing the praises of EcoTree Services. In a few hours, EcoTree had removed the unsightly trees, cleaned the debris, and opened the area for a new fence. I can't say enough good things about the people at EcoTree. I've used them several times, always thrilled with their work. If you have trees that require pruning or need to be removed, contact EcoTree, a local business that deserves your business. They've earned mine. Go to ecotreeservices.com.
Lorain Medina Rural Electric offers a quick and easy way to pay bills online, monitor your daily electric use, and receive updates from your cooperative through SmartHub. Members can sign up for this service at www.lmre.org or contact the LMRE office at 440-647-2133 for more information.
Welcome back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky starting off this 10 o'clock hour with Colin Myers with the Firelands Falcons program. Colin, first and foremost, I want to thank you for adjusting your schedule and letting us head over to your spot on Tuesday evening when our game got canceled over at Vermillion. We were able to catch up with you and a really exciting matchup against Westlake. That ended up being about a 10-point game, but for those in attendance and certainly Ron Yance and I, that was a lot closer game than that score would lead to anybody to believe. That was about a 4-point game with a minute left. You guys really played well in that affair. And then you followed up with a nice win last night as you get a victory over Black River 76-55.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming out. Our kids, they've been playing hard all year, and we've been in a lot of close games that we ended up on the losing side. But they're starting to play well. They're playing much better together. And that's all we can ask for. And, again, we were able to come out with a good win last night. We saw a lot of shots go in, and we just played with a ton of confidence.
Colin, you went to Black River last night, and anybody you talk to in the LC8 says how improved Black River is. Can you talk about the ball game last night? Why were you able to go on the road and get a 21-point win against an improved team?
Yeah, Black River, they're playing much better basketball this year, and they have some talent over there, and we've been saying that for a few years now. Or if you're not ready to go, they got the talent and pieces to beat you. And the new coach, they've been doing a great job over there. The kids are playing hard, they're playing the right way. But yeah, our kids, we were missing a couple key pieces last night again, out with injury, and the kids we had step up. I mean, we had 4 kids scoring double figures last night. And in those games this year, we had multiple kids scoring double figures. We're 4-1 now. So, that's one of the keys for us, especially moving forward. But some of these younger kids are getting a lot of that varsity experience. They're starting to play better. And, again, we're playing with a lot more confidence. And a lot of these kids have been in these games now and kind of know and see what it takes. And, the more we play, the better we keep getting, and that's what we want going into the tournament.
And Colin, you mentioned that, you're scoring better. You got guys hitting double figures, 4 of them. A couple of weeks ago, that was not the case. I think you used a pair of 21-point quarters yesterday to build that lead against Black River. So, where does the confidence come from at this time of the year, as you mentioned, battling injury, illness, and adversity for guys to step up and believe in themselves?
Yeah, and that's where our senior class comes in huge. Logan Holt, he's a senior for us. He really had it going last night. I think he finished with 23. And Aiden Fortner, you guys know him. He's a heck of a player too. I think he scored 19. We have 2 kids scoring the ball like that. It kind of opens things up for other players. And a freshman, Max Brown for us, he was able to chip in 13. And then a sophomore, Brett Bury for us. He scored 10 there. It just opens things up for these younger kids and takes the pressure off them, when our upperclassmen are playing like that. So it gives those younger kids the confidence as well when the older kids are playing free like that and taking the pressure off them, letting them kind of get in the groove of the game because we're not asking them or needing them to necessarily score like that. So it allows them in the flow of the game to kind of get moving when our upperclassmen step up and play like that.
Colin, injuries have been a big part of your season, unfortunately. It happens from time to time. We saw you early in the year at Keystone. You had a bunch of injuries. You just mentioned you had a couple guys missing last night. I guess 2 things. One, do you have an opportunity? Do you foresee before the season's over getting a little bit healthier at some point? Are you going to get some of these guys back? And secondly, because of the injuries, have you been able to maybe have other guys step up that maybe you didn't foresee? And can that be, a benefit in the big picture for a program?
I think something happened with the connection. We can see Colin talking. He might have muted us.
Coach, you got us? I know we lost him for a minute. Is there anything on?
No, I mean, there's nothing we can do there. I think we're just kind of waiting for it to.
Coach, can you hear us? We can't hear you right now. Coach, can you hear us?
We got Colin Myers here with Firelands, and I think we might have lost connection there for a moment. He's back now, it looks like. Colin, do you have us back?
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I think there's a lag in terms of the video. I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, it looks like we're just having trouble connecting with him. Again, he's coming off of a nice win over Black River last night, 76-55. And what was a challenging week, I think, for everybody around here, weather-wise, and just not knowing some of the things. They had a really tough game against Westlake on Tuesday night. We were fortunate enough to be able to adjust our schedule and get over there. And again, Westlake, the bigger school, the bigger team, didn't necessarily look it for about 3.5 quarters of that game as Firelands with a really valiant effort in that contest on Tuesday evening. Trying to connect with Coach Colin Myers of Firelands Falcons could be something where we just have to catch up with you next week, Coach, in terms of right now. I think he's telling us he can hear us, but we can't hear him. So
yeah, Coach.
Yeah. We'll catch up with you down the road,
sorry,
Coach. Real sorry about that. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning, and certainly continued success as far as what's going on over at Firelands. Hopefully put it together at the right time. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and I think we're going to move right along. On deck joining us is Chris Delisio with the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs program. They did a huge win last night over Amherst. That was one that is really going to put them as far as putting themselves up to control their own destiny in the Southwestern Conference. 67-54, the win over Amherst last night, Chris, as you have mentioned.
Morning, guys. I can't hear you right now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Either, I don't know. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to have you come back in, okay? Thanks. We'll get it figured out. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Show. It's on line at WEOL.com and also on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
At Nick Abraham Buick GMC, we offer the greatest customer experience around, plus upfront, no haggle pricing and great deals. Right now, lease the 2025 GMC Sierra for just $339 a month. Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Lorain County Community College is where you'll lock in your future success. LCCC will get you prepared, get you credentialed, and get you working. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
Welcome back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar and Rob Polinsky trying to connect with Chris Delisio with the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, and I think we have Coach Delisio now. Hopefully he can hear us. Chris, can you? Yep, we're getting the nod.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
We got you. Chris
Perfect.
is he's at work this morning, as you can tell. The past couple of weeks we've caught up with him. He's been at the home office with the Augusta National, the fairway behind him. But now he's got the brick and mortar over there at Olmsted Falls. We're going to be there Wednesday for the girls' game, Chris. But right now we want to talk to you about your matchup last night against Amherst. You come away with a 67-54 victory, and you get one back from earlier in this year.
Yeah, our guys did a great job last night. I thought we were pretty good on the defensive end for most of the night. Offensively, Amherst is, they just have so many threats, and I thought we did a great job of, to hold them in the 50s, is a tough task with as many really good players as they have. So it's really happy with our guys on the defensive end.
We've talked to you about that for the past couple of weeks, the defensive effort, and I would assume more of the same in terms of, you got a room full of guys that want to step up and take on that challenge about who wants to, take on the number one guy, so to speak, over at Amherst or a group of them. Where does that come from at this time in the year when you still have guys that defensively want to get after it and rise to that occasion?
Yeah, well, it's a credit to our guys with their mindset, of buying in and coming to practice every day, understanding that it's got to be the main focus. You're not going to shoot the ball perfectly every night. You're not going to some nights you're going to miss free throws, layups, things like that. But our guys have really bought in the fact that, every night you can defend and you can make that decision and give yourself a chance to win. So, I have a great group of kids that I get to coach this year, all the way through the lineup 1 through 13, and all those guys buy in the practice gym, and that just carries over onto the game floor.
Chris, what went differently last night in defeating Amherst from the first time when you lost to the Comets?
I think it was the defensive side, and the first game around, Amherst really did a great job of attacking us, and they knocked down some threes early in the game and put us in a little bit of a hole that we had to climb out of. And last night we were a little bit more solid on the defensive end, especially early in the game, the first half. So I think that kind of like got us off to a great start.
You know, it's a long season. We all know that. How much more does it mean when you still can play for, you know, a chance at a conference championship when you flip that calendar to February, as opposed to years maybe where you're going through the grind and you don't have that opportunity come February? How much more juice does that give your guys to try to close a regular season?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun for them, you know. You always want to be playing for something, and always, you know, every team always has the postseason to play for, and that's definitely fun and can be a focus. But when you're in the thick of the conference race, you know, it just gives you something else to motivate the guys and keep them on, you know, schedule with practice and everything that we're trying to do. So I think it's just a lot more fun for our guys, our team.
Chris, take us inside the locker room, or maybe, you know, on the way home, or, you know, once guys got home, because I think that that you guys were a little bit ahead of the Avon and Berea Mid-Park game last night in terms of your outcome. Is that something where this time of the year it's okay to do a little bit of scoreboard watching once you've taken care of business?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. You can do a little bit of scoreboard watching, but at the end of the day, you know, I mean, it's, especially with as many games as we have left, you know, your job is still to go out and compete, and you still have to win, right? I mean, so, you know, you look at it and, you know, it brought us into a tie, but the bottom line is we still got a lot of tough games coming up, and we would have to win those games regardless of what anybody else is doing. So that's still the focus, is, you know, on what we're doing. And, you know, tonight we have a non-conference game, but then Tuesday we're back at it at Avon Lake, you know, which is a tough place to play against a team who's really improving and scaring a lot of teams, you know. So we know that we got to keep our focus on, you know, what's in front of us.
Crystal is here with the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, joins us. He's our guest. You know, Mike Fitch sort of echoed those same comments. He said he was happy for about 40 seconds last night after that victory, and then it's right back to work and figure out where you're at, because, you know, everybody has aspirations. We talked to Brett Larrick, you know, kind of said the same thing, and Ben Chase. So just kind of everybody that won in your league last night, I think you guys all have that same mindset this time of year. But, you know, is there something where, you know, at the end of the day, they're high school kids, you know, keeping them on track, as Rob mentioned, throughout a long, arduous season, you know, what's that like in terms of, you're an educator first and foremost before you're a coach. How does that impact these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get, you know, whether it's as a teacher or a coach, you know, you got to instill a mindset of, you know, what's next in kids, you know, and whether that's minute by minute on the game floor, or it's okay, next morning shoot around, and, you know, what's our focus in the shoot around, because they can get sidetracked, you know, just like anybody else. And I think that's something that as a coach or a teacher, that's a constant, you know, thing that you're trying to just like get across to kids, so that they learn to bring their best effort every day, and just focus on the next practice or the next thing that you're doing as the most important thing. So that's where we're at.
Chris, you mentioned you're a coach, you're a teacher, you're also a parent. You have one of the rare things where your daughter, you know, plays for the girls basketball program, and you're a parent, you're a fan, obviously, of her, of that team. How does that affect you from a standpoint? Can you appreciate maybe the parents in your program a little bit more because you go through it? You know, on the girls' side, I just kind of wondered what's that like for you to sit there and watch her instead of coaching.
Well, it's definitely a great experience. It's truly one of, you know, my favorite things to do is to watch my kids play sports, and it is nice for me to turn it off, you know, a little bit. So, you know, even though I'll go from shoot around here right out to Amherst to watch them play, but I get to sit in the stands as a parent, not a coach, and I actually really enjoy that part of it, and not having to you know, to analyze the game and you know, make some decisions based on what's going on in the game. So, you know, it's definitely just a really enjoyable thing that I get to do. I'm really lucky to be able to do it. And I think anytime you become, when you become a parent and you're able to see, things from that side, I think it definitely helps you as a coach. It kind of keeps in the back of your mind that how, what experience the parents have. And you're always kind of conscious of, what's going on in your program and how those parents have a role and things like that. So I think it can definitely help you as a coach if you navigate it like that.
Chris, we want to take a moment to thank you for joining us this morning, kind of adjusting your schedule. Like you said, you got to shoot around, then you got to make your way over to Amherst. So safe travels. And Casey Wolf will be very happy to see you over there this morning, I'm sure. And, he caught up with us this morning. Rob and I will be out to your place Wednesday night for that game as the girls team, Avon Lake, makes the visit over to Falls. So maybe if you can carve out a couple of minutes at the half, we'd love to have you on and get your thoughts on that ball game as well as, what's going on for you and your club.
Awesome, guys. Will do, and I appreciate you having me on this morning.
And that's Chris D'Alicia with the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. And, again, busy man. He's got to get over to Amherst to watch his daughter play this morning. So take care, Chris. We'll catch up with you Wednesday. Stick around on the other side of the break. One more guest to get to on this abbreviated show as we will be over at Clearview this morning for girls basketball. As we have the Clearview Clippers hosting Vermilion Sailors in non-conference action. But Larry Babick's going to join us on the other side of the break. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. It's streaming online at WEOL.com and also the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
At Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, we make it that easy.
This month, get 0% on all 2025 Ford F-150s, including Lightning, regular cabs, super cabs, and Super Duties, plus all Explorers and Escapes.
Stop in or shop us at buyabraham.com.
Lorain County Community College is where you'll lock in your future success. LCCC will get you prepared, get you credentialed, and get you working. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
And we welcome you back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Jared Kozar along with Rob Polinsky. Larry Babick's with the Brookside
Jared, I lost
Cardinals.
you guys.
He doesn't have us. We're having a couple of issues here, Larry. I'm sorry. I'm going to text you and have you come in. And
I'm going to redial in.
Yep, there you go. He's got it. He knows what it's all about. So Larry Babick's is going to figure this out in a moment. But, yeah.
You want me to go through some scores from last night?
We're in a situation where we can do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in boys basketball last night, the game we had, it was Keystone over Columbia 72-51. Firelands defeated Black River 76-55. It was Brookside, where we're going to talk about Larry Babick's momentarily, defeating Wellington 78-51, and Oberlin, the Phoenix, over Clearview 81-45.
Lorain County League scores from last night, and we're rejoined by Larry Babick. I think we got it figured out now. Coach, thanks for taking some time and readjusting your schedule. I know you got a busy day today as you prepare for a game over at Amherst. But, walk us through a game. You come away with a 78-51 victory over Wellington. Jim Baker and those guys, one thing they're going to do, they may not always fill it up offensively, but they make you work on the defensive side of that. It's a grinded out game. He definitely has those guys playing that way.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's, we've talked, just about every week. Jim's done a great job with them. Again, I know their record's not where they want to be, but they've been in, a ton of games, won a few. So we knew it was a challenge, especially going over there. We talked in previous weeks, we don't always play real well over there and give Wellington, teams of the past credit for that. But, we shot the ball really well last night. It was just one of those halves that first half where, it's almost everything you threw up went in. And, when any high school team's doing that, it makes everything easier. Your defense is a little bit better. Your energy's a little bit better. And, they had a great crowd out there last night. So it was fun, just playing in front of a packed house. And, Wellington's a, good sized gym. And,
yeah.
They get a great following. We've talked about that in the past. And, it was really, really good for our guys to play in front of that environment, and again, with the stakes that are on the line for our guys, we were very happy with the results and the way we played, especially in that first half.
Yeah, if people haven't been over there, that Wellington gym's been a little bit of a facelift. It's still the same building, but it looks a lot different and somehow altogether brighter, almost like going over to your place when you talk about how the light reflects off of that floor now. And I know that's just, ancillary things, but, if your kids haven't been over there in a while, it could be a shock when you walk in there, and all of a sudden that becomes a little bit more of a home court advantage.
Yeah, and they've done a great job there. I mean, a lot of schools in our league, you can only do so much with your gym, especially the older gyms. But I mean, man, if you looked at Wellington's gym 15 years ago, even from the floor, the bleachers, the paint jobs, the banners, it's night and day. I mean, they've done a tremendous job, the locker rooms, and they do a really good job of hosting the visiting teams. And it's a tough place to play, but they do a real good job of making sure the visiting teams are well taken care of, and you always appreciate that as a head coach.
Larry, you step outside of conference play tonight. You're going over to Amherst, a game that wasn't on your original schedule. You're able to add them in after Huron dropped you when you thought you were going to open the season with them. How much confidence does your team have going over to Amherst, coming off of that Bay victory where you stepped outside of your league and you were able to beat the Bay Rockets? Can that win give your team, confidence as you head into tonight, taking on another, if you want to say step up as far as the league, going over and taking on a team from the SWC?
Yeah, I mean, our guys are pretty confident. They're obviously playing pretty well. They've had a really good week this week. The Bay game on Tuesday, we went from playing Friday night, last Friday against Oberlin, and surviving that game, and then we didn't practice anything. We just showed up Tuesday and played. We had like a 10-minute film, about a 20-minute walkthrough, and we played, and we actually played really, really well. So the kids got, they have a lot of momentum on them right now, and but Amherst, again, just being in that SWC, those guys are always tested. That's the thing, night in and night out, man. I mean, I love looking at our scores and scoreboard watching with our league, but man, it's awesome just to watch and that league and just watch those guys just beat up on each other every Tuesday and Friday. So I will tell you, with Amherst, they're super talented. I think he literally has 10, 11 guys he could start. They play 10, 11. So them playing last night, even a very good Olmsted Falls team, I mean, they'll be fresh. He plays a ton. They're athletic. They shoot it well. They defend you well. They have size. They can handle the ball. So it's going to be another great test for us. And, we look forward to the challenge.
When Chris D'Alicio joined us just a couple of minutes ago, you might have heard the end of him, and he basically said, we had to grind it out defensively against those guys. Do you look at it, Larry, you and your staff, and think, well, maybe our goal is to speed them up and say, hey, we're going to outscore you, rather than try to make it a rock fight?
Yeah, I mean, because we don't defend like Olmsted Falls does. So, I mean, I wish we were half the defenders they are. And, obviously Chris does a great job both sides of the ball. But Pat will run with us. Pat has no problem with it. So we scrimmage every year. I would be very surprised if this game isn't like super, super high scoring, So especially if either team gets a little streaky, there should be a lot of points tonight, would be my guess. And again, we're pretty fresh. Most of our guys only had to play 2.5 quarters last night. Being able to get out to that big lead, we were able to get them some rest, and knowing that we had that back-to-back tonight, that that was part of the game plan. If we got super lucky, is get through the game, give our guys as much rest as possible for tonight's game. And again, I give Pat nothing but credit, him and Casey, for adding us, because I think someone dropped them the same way like Huron did to us. And they don't have to play us. There's nothing. Amherst is supposed to win. So again, the schools are pretty close together, both having pretty good seasons. It should be a great local, high school game. And, like you said, I know what's going on out in Margaretta with Keystone and Elyria, and I'm trying to keep my eye on Keystone a little bit before our game. And, I just love good basketball, and boys, girls, whatever. And you get excited for these type of out of league games. And, just to get to coach against Pat, his whole staff, Collier, all those guys, we know those guys for so long. It's just really, really fun to challenge yourself against great coaches and great opponents. So we look forward to tonight.
Well, Larry, good luck in that contest. Pat will be gunning for you coming off the loss last night. So, I don't know if Chris D'Alicia did you any favors there, but you and your guys, I think, will definitely go over there and put on a good effort over at Amherst. And, that's one I think that Rob and I were saying, hey, your club's going to win one of these games at some point. Maybe tonight's the night when you go outside of that conference and get that SWC win. And that's sort of a nice piece to build off of as you look to close the season out.
Yeah, I mean, we look forward to the challenge. And again, we just want to make sure, we're doing everything the right way, playing with great energy, and, the results will, take care of themselves. We just want to make sure we're getting better. And again, I'm not here moral victory in anything. Like, we just need, regardless, win or lose, we just need to show up, play Brookside basketball and get after it and have fun. And I think our kids are ready for the test tonight.
Larry, that sounds good. Congratulations on the win last night over Wellington, and good luck as you make the trip over to Amherst. Stay warm and stay safe. Here's hoping we catch up with you real soon on a Saturday morning, and if not, we've got kind of the countdown clock set for the 13th. So if we don't talk to you before then, we will see you over at Keystone on Friday the 13th. Boy, how coincidental is it that that's the date? So take care, buddy. We'll catch up with you again, and want to thank everybody. It's an abbreviated show this morning. The Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show was brought to you by the folks at Nick Abraham Buick GMC, Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, located at Route 57 and Broad Street in Elyria. It's also brought to you by Lorain County Community College, quality education for good jobs. Lorraine Medina Rural Electric Cooperative, LMRE, your Touchstone Energy Corporation, and the folks over at EcoTree Services, complete tree care company. For Rob Polinsky, I am Jared Kozar. I'm making my way over to Clearview. That's our girls' cage matchup of the weekend, as Clearview will take on Vermilion in girls' hoops. Coming up your way with a noon tip-off. Rocco Nushi, myself, and Gary Pelter make the trip over to Clearview in Lorain. Until then, we will see you next week on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. We want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, however it is that you viewed or listened to this program this morning.